In this video, I'm going over the revolve commands. So we have a revolve and we have revolve cut, and then we are go over the linear pattern and also the circular pattern, and we go over that how we can create one object and use the pattern and also mirror objects and commands. Okay, so let's just start with the basic for the revolve. To create a revolve, you need to notice you can create a profile, and this profile should be closed, and then you have options. You need to create another axis or construction line and revolve the object or your profile around that axis. Okay, so let's start with the. I'm going to select the y and z axis, and I create the new sketch. Okay, let's select this one. Okay, so I select some random shape here, so I create so I select this one and I create some. Okay, let's say that this is the outside of my object, so let's make it expand a little more because I want to. Okay, and let me little zoom out, and for this point, okay, now I put the create a closed profile here, so you can see that when I close the profile, the inside of the area between the these lines, it become highlighted. And then I need to create one axis, so I create a line and I can put the axis here. So I put the axis in the this is my z axis, and I click on that, and from the options, so I just left click on the line, and from the options that I have, I said that I want to be construction line. So I make the line that I created as a construction. This construction line work as a axis for my command. Then I go to the feature and I select the revolve. Okay, so for the revolve command, the first thing that the software asks from you is selecting the axis. So first you can see that if you have a couple of different objects, you have options to create the boss or revolve boss, or you can create a revolve cut, or you can put the two different feature, combine them together. The next thing is that you have different options from the creating the solid body, or you can create the scene body, that is a you can define the thickness, or you can create a surface. So the surface is like the thin layer that you can create, and it's use the profile that you created here as a outside of your surface. So for here, let's just start with the solid body. So the next thing that the software asks us is select the our axis. So for the beginning, I start with the line that I have here, and I show you what is the difference when I select the line that is part of the profile, my closed profile, and what is the difference that I select the different line. So for now, I select a line that is part of my profile. Then I click on the next part and I select I click in this plane, and you can see that it create the preview for me. And in the advanced section, it said that auto merge. So if there's another body here, it automatically merge the this body to the next body that you have here. Okay, so for the revolution, I asked for the full revolution. It means that it's a 360 from the profile, the plane that I created, and it go all the way, come back, sit down at the original one. Or I can say that I want to be blind, and I said that okay, I just want to go for 90 degree. So then, or let's say that 150. So when I click on the page, you see that I created only the 150 degree of the object. Or let me put 180, and then I create only half of my object. So if I click OK here, and I go to the view, I roll, you see that I have only half of the object because I said that I want to revolve for the 180 degree. Now let's go to the revolve and just go to the edit. And then I said that okay, just make it as a blind or full revolve. Now we can see that the object is fully revolved around the axis that I defined at the mid-center. So that's the part of the axis that I defined is part of the profile. Now if I go to the tools and create the cross section, so let's put the cross section XD, you see that I have a full material inside my revolve. Okay, now let's see what's happened if I select the different axis as my revolve axis. So if I click on this line that I selected as I created as a construction line, now you can see that my body revolve around the 360 degree around the my axis that is my construction line. So in another word, now your body has a hollow inside. So you created some kind of the pipe shape. So you have a hollow inside your object. Okay. Now if I go to the instead of selecting the solid, if I go to the scene feature, now instead of having the full material inside this closed profile, I can define the thickness of the wall that I want to have. Let's put the 10 millimeter. So now I have a 10 millimeter thickness for this object. So if I click OK, and I show you the cross section. Okay, so there's some error here. So let me check the error. Okay, so I think that a 10 millimeter, the thickness is over defined, so I need to put the 5. Let's see. Okay, so you see that the 10 millimeter created some kind of a problem in the these points that I created arc. So the software gives you the error that it cannot create the thickness of the wall. So now you can see that instead of having the full material inside this closed profile, I only have the thin wall here. And you have options to change the thickness of your the wall. The difference between the scene and the surface is that for the surface is only the very small layer of the. So if I click on the, so you can see that this is the for the surface. You only have very thin layer of the surface around the profile that you created, but for the scene, you can define the thickness in your scene profile. So you can define the thickness of your material. But for the surface, it's just very small surface that you create around the profile that you have. Okay, so let's go back to the full body and let me make it through the. So the problem with the running through the internet is that sometimes the internet is very slow. So now I cannot see my original profile, so I cannot select the line that I want to. So I wanted to select this line, but let's try it again. So I select okay, now it's good. So I select this line, I click OK. And now let's try to create the one profile that is not closed. So I create some profile. Okay. Then I create one axis again. So let's say that this is the axis that we want to have. So if I try to create my revolve and I select, so let me put it here. So right now you see that because I have more than one object, more than one body, the option of creating the cut, revolve cut, and also creating the new body or new object is available here. But I just want to create the solid part for the solid revolve right now. So here, let me clear that one. So for the profile, I select this profile, and for the axis, I select this one. So now you see that the profile gives me the error that you cannot create the solid body because you have an open profile. But still, with using the open profile, I can create the scene feature. So if I select the scene feature, I can create my scene and I can put the thickness that I want. Let's keep it at a 5mm. So if I go to the tools and make so the difference from this open profile that I revolve around as a scene revolve around the axis is that you don't have for the inside of your object, you don't have this small wall that comes from the closed profile. So let me go back and change this one to the edit this one and make it as a scene. So you can see the difference between the first one, these two, that for the closed profile, if I select the axis, the axis that is not part of the profile, and you create the scene, you have another line here. So it means that if I go back to the revolve here, instead of, let me turn off this one. So instead of this line, I select this part. So now I have a closed profile, and then I revolve it around this axis. So when I create the scene layer, now I have these one another layer, one another wall inside my profile because this is a closed profile. Let me go back to the sketch to think best way is that I move this object. So let me do this one. Okay, now if I separate these two objects, now I can easily show the difference for you. So the first one is, the left one is my closed profile, the open profile. So when I revolve it around the axis that I created, there is no line here. And this one is closed profile that I revolve around the center, and you can see that there's another wall, the scene layer here. So that's the difference between the open profile and closed profile, but generally try to create a closed profile because the open profile gives you the error, and you can only create the scene layer or scene revolve using the open profile. Okay, the next part or the next command is creating the revolve cut. So if I create a new part here, so let me create the new, and okay, just create a new component. Okay. Let's create the base, one base here, and for the base I just create one rectangle. To put that dimension easily, you can just click on the line, and from the options that it show you, just left click on each line, and you have different options here, and one of them is that putting the dimension. So I put the dimension here as a 400, then I click on this line and I put the dimension as a 400. Then let's make it extrude, and select this profile and I put the 50 millimeter. Okay, now I have a base. The next thing that I want to do is that I create the object here, the shape that I want to cut from this base. So let's make it a little thicker, 100 millimeter. Okay. So one thing that I want to do is that in the surface, I just want to create a half a circle and cut the half a circle around the center of this object, center of this box that I created, cube that I created. Okay. To do that, to create the revolve cut, we need two different profiles. One of them is that the profile that we want to cut, and the next thing is that the axis that we want to use. Here, because I create everything everything is the symmetry through my origin, I can easily create the datum axis and put that axis at the center of my cube. So I just click on this plane and this plane, and then you see that I have my axis. This is my axis. So this is the axis that I want to use to create my revolve. Now I select the sketch. I need to create the profile that I want to cut from this box in this plane. So this is the plane XY that I want to create. So I select this line and I create the, okay. So now you can see that I select I have the view from the side of my box. Then I select either you can put the circle, because I just want to have a half a circle cut from this box. I just put the center of my circle at the middle of the line at the top of my box, and just click there, and again I click there and I put the dimension as a 50. So the radius, the diameter of my circle is 15 millimeter. Okay, now let's show you what do I have here. So this is the profile, this is the half of the circle that I want to cut, and this is the axis that I use to create my cut. Now I go to either inside the feature, and from the feature I can select either the revolve or expand the revolve command and select the revolve cut. So if I select the revolve, I can easily at the top I select the cut, and then I select the axis. So this is my axis. Then this is my profile that I want to cut. Now click OK. Now I remove the material half a circle that I wanted from the top of my box this object. So this is my base, and I cut the material from the revolve with the revolve cut from the top. So from the bottom part, let's try another shape or another cut. So let me just rotate this one. I use the same axis, and the only thing is that this time I select let me turn off this one. I select the bottom part. I create the new sketch. Sorry, I need to select the another. So I need to select the another plane, because this is the revolve. So I need to create the cross section of my cut or my revolve. So the cross section sit down in this plane. So I select this plane, and then I go to the sketch and I put the new profile. So now here let's try the ellipse. So let's try to see what we get here. So I select this type of the okay, let's say that this is the profile that I want to cut through the base that I have. So I put it at the I put it at the same, so I need to move it to the I put that the same face. I just want to cut it from the back, so let's delete this one. Then I put the ellipse, put on the let me delete this one and do it again. So just normal. Okay, now I just go to the edit, delete this one, do it again, do it here. Okay, that's good. Now I have the ellipse in the other side. Then I select go to the feature, select the revolve, select the revolve cut. I select my axis first, then I select my profile. Now if I show the cross section, okay, now in the cross section you can see zoom in. You see the difference between the different profile that you create. So this is the ellipse, and this is your half a circle that you cut through the object that you have. So you can easily create the different type of the groove or a canal inside your object or inside your base with this command. You have the same options if you want to create the scene layer. So if you want to, instead of having the full shape, full cut, you can create only the scene cut from your box. Let's try to, so if I go and edit zoom in and zoom out. Let's go to the feature, right click on this one, then I select the scene and I put the 5mm. Now if I click OK, and if I just view, so here now, instead of having the, so if I click OK, so now instead of having the full, so instead of having the full removal of the inside of ellipse, you had just remove the scene layer from the outside of the profile. So you have or still have remaining profile here from your base. So this profile, this material is from your base, and it didn't remove from the command that you use because it's a scene revolve. Okay, so let's save this for your after you save your file, you can, let's save this one. So first you save your file, and then you have options to export your file to your drive, or you can save it either in your 3DEXPERIENCE drive, or you can save it inside your computer. So I just need to give the location of my 3DEXPERIENCE drive. So and also I can save it inside my computer, and you can upload and send it to the other people that they want to use it. Now let's go to the next option. So next command, we went through over the revolve, and we found out what is the difference between the scene revolve and also the importance of the different axes that you select. And now let's go and take a look at the different features from the pattern and also the mirror. So okay, so I can show you the mirror from here. So let's say that you created this object, and then you want to mirror the whole. So you want to create the half of your object, and then you want to mirror that and create another half. So you just select the mirror, and then the first thing that you need to do is that you select your mirror plane. So let's say that I want to mirror everything that I have to this face. The next thing is that you need to select between the geometry or the feature. Right now, because I'm outside of the sketch, I want to select the feature. It means that I want to select all this extrude, the other revolve, and this scene revolve. So I select this one. As you can see, if I click OK right now, the only thing that get mirrored is my first command or my first extrude. But I want to mirror all of the other objects too. So this extrude, and also this revolve, and also the other revolve in the other side. So I just go to the mirror and go to the edit. Now I click on the mirror item, and then I click on the, you can from the tree, you can select in the other items. So I select, you see that the preview shows the cut in the mirror part. And I select this cut, and then I click OK. Now everything is mirrored, so I have show the cut here. Now I have the full body that I plan to create. Let's go to and flip the direction. Then just let's rotate this one. Okay, now I easily mirror everything that I created from the half of my object to the from the one side to the other side. So now I have the full body that I wanted. That's the very easy way. If you have something that the huge object, you can, and it's like the pattern, you can just create the half of it or quarter of one thing and just mirror that or pattern the object to the other part. Okay, so now let me create a new, save this one. Now I just go to the next option and I create the pattern. So I show you how you can create the pattern. So I just put the new name. Let's say that you have a box and you put the one hole, circle hole, and you have the same hole with the same size with the like the 20 or 25 hole in the same rectangle. So I create one rectangle and just go to the feature, and then I create the one rectangle. I put the dimension 400 millimeter and put this one 400. Then let's go out and create the, so this is my base. I create the base that I want and I put the 100 is okay. So this is the base that I have and I want to put the different amount of the holes. So let's say that I want to put the 3 hole in the top and 4 hole in the other direction. So the only thing that I need for the pattern is the same, the one feature, and then you pattern that feature through the different direction. So to do that, I just select the top face and I just create the one hole that I want to create. So let's say that this hole, I just put it in this location. Now let's put the dimension for this hole. Let's say that this hole is 50 millimeter and the location hole is from this line is 100 and from this axis is 102. So this is the hole. Then I go on to the feature and I create my cut. So I want to have a cut the whole way, go back to the other side. Okay, now I have my hole and this is the feature that I want to pattern through the this object that I have, this pad that I created here. To do that, I just go from the feature, I select the pattern, and then in the pattern section, it asks about the feature that I want to pattern. So either you can select it from the graphic card or you can select from the tree. So I select this extrude. The next thing is that it asks me about the direction. For the first direction, I just want to, let's say that in this direction. So from the top edge, and I want to select the number of the hole. Let's say that I want to have a 3 hole in the let's say that this is the X direction. I want to have a 3 hole in the X direction. You see that it goes to the other side. I just change the direction of the hole. And the next thing is that I have 2 different options to locate these new holes. One of them is that the instant spacing. It means that it defines the space between the two center of these holes. Right now is a 60 millimeter. I can put it as a 100. So if I click on the space, now that the center to this center is a 100 millimeter. The next thing is that either you can say that the total pattern length, how much is that? So you can define the total length from the first hole to the last hole. We say that, let's say from here to here, you say that is a 200 millimeter, and you want to put the two holes between this space. So the software automatically divide the total length by the number of the distance, the number of the pattern, and then is put the center of the holes at the equal distance that is comes from this number. So if I right now, let's say that I have a 3 pattern, and when I put the 300, the distance between each center become 150. So the total length between the first and the last one is the 300, and I want to put the two holes from the 0 to 300. So I get the each center from the original one with the 150 millimeter. So let's put the instant, and I put this as a 100. Next, you have the second direction. For the second direction, I select this line, and I say that downward I want to put the 3 more. So change the direction, and I put the 100 again, and I select the number of the holes as a 3. So I have 3 rows of the hole downward 2. In the advanced section, you have different options here. So I select the feature pattern because I want to create the cuts. I don't want to just pattern the holes. So if I select the geometry, I just get the circles here, but I just want to create all of the holes that I need here. Then the next option is the symmetry. If you select the symmetry, you get exactly the same pattern that you created here in the other side. So you have you wanted the 3 extra holes in this row, you get the same in the other side. And also you wanted the 3 holes in the downward, you get the 3 holes upward. The only thing is that here, because you don't have extra material here, the software only give you access for the 1 extra hole in the to the left. So for the quick preview, it shows the preview of your holes that you can see here with some green lines. And for the skip instance, you can easily, it gives you the options to skip. Let's say if I click on this one, the software skip that one, so you don't get that pattern. So when you finish your pattern, you don't have these two cut here. You can do that instead of using the skip feature. You have 3 different type of the pattern that you can select for the linear. The first one is that you get all of the arrays, so you get all of these 3 by 3, you get the 9 hole, or you just say that you want to have the holes in the perimeter, and you can see that the one at the middle disappeared. Or you can say only you want the pattern in the 2 direction, only at the main line, so you don't get the extra hole in the this area in the bottom part. Okay, so if I click OK here, now you see that you get your holes and your pattern easily created. One thing that you need to notice, all of these patterns, they are related to the first one. In other words, if I change any property of the first cut, everything else will be adjusted to the first one. For example, if I go to the first cut and edit the size for my hole. So let's say that if I go to my sketch, so I need to go to this sketch and change the 50. Let's say instead of the 50, make it 25. Now if I go out, all of the holes get the same size. Or if I change the depth of my cut instead of the all the way through, I can change it instead of the 100 millimeter, I can put it 50. Now you can see all of the holes have the depth of the 50 millimeter. Okay. Now let's go over the other type of the pattern, that is circular pattern. Okay, for the circular pattern, let me just delete this one. And then I just edit this circle and I put it closer to center, 50-50. Okay, now I have that one. One thing that you need for your circular pattern is the same as your revolve. You need to have an axis, because you want to pattern your feature around one axis inside your object. So to do that, first let me create one axis that is in the center. So I select the axis, then I just rotate it a little, this one, and then I cancel this one and select these two plane. Now I have my axis and I want to just pattern this hole around this axis inside my inside this box that I created. So I go to the feature, expand my pattern, and I select the circular. So you can change the type of the pattern from this drop down menu too, so you can select between the linear pattern and circular pattern. So for the circular pattern, you have only one option, that is just create your feature. So I select my circle and then I select my axis, and then I have different options for the creating my pattern. So let's put it for 45 to show you the difference between the instant angle and pattern angle. So for the instant angle, it gives you the angle between the two center from this axis according to the number of the hole that you have. So for example, if you have only 2 or if you have a 10, the distance between each center is 45. So if I make it 3, from this point to this point is 45, from this point to the next one is 45. So if I have a 5 hole, I have 45-degree distance between each of these center for the my object. So I select the feature because I want to pattern my hole. The next option is that the pattern angle. So for the pattern angle, you define the total amount of the degrees. So here, let's say that I want to sit down 5 hole in the 360 degrees. So I define the distance from the center of my first hole to the last one 360. It means that the last hole sit down in the first hole. So the first hole and the last hole sit down together, and the rest divided by 5. So the center of this hole to the other one is the 360 divided by 5, and it's equal distance. So if I put the 4, so the distance between each hole is 90 degree, because 360 divided by 4 is the 90 degree. So this is the one easy way that if you don't know the distance between each center, or it's difficult to calculate, you just give the total amount of the degree that you want to have a pattern and the total number of the object that you want to create, and then the software automatically put the command or the extrude in the equal distance. So let's put it 6, and then for the symmetry here, it doesn't do anything, because right now you created the feature or the pattern through the axis at the middle, so the symmetry sit down at the same process. So the symmetry is not working here, but for the skip instance, I can say that I don't want to have this cut, or I don't want to have this one. So you can easily exclude those holes that you don't want from your cut. So if I click OK, now this is the shape that I get. So this is a cut that I get. Again, you need to notice that all of this pattern is related to the your main cut or the main feature that you selected. So if I change any information for the main cut, you see that when I extended the hole, it's patterned to the other holes too. In other words, you cannot individually edit the holes that you created from the pattern. You can only edit the original one.